What is up, everybody? It is Monday, start of a new week, and it's almost the last week of May. I've been feeling off, like really off lately, and I haven't felt like this in quite a while. And normally, what happens when I go through this kind of low point or feeling of darkness and disconnect, or where everything feels totally different, and that's not surprising with all the changes that's happening in our lives and in the world, and some of it's good. That's what's interesting, and I've noticed there's some people are blind to the good parts of things that are changing and just want to hold an old narrative, and I'm guilty of that myself, where there's a level of trauma I've had in my life, and there's a longing for excitement and drama and wanting to heal and rescue people. And I've been doing a lot of work to shed that. And as I do, more and more of me shows up, more and more parts that I thought I had worked through and healed are raising their head again, like things I haven't felt since I was a kid or an adolescent. And I've gone through this many times. I've done tons of shadow work. I've meditated for like thousands of hours, basically, if you were to add it up. Worked with all these healers. I even went to college to get a master's in psychology to help figure out what they had to teach me. And it all helped, and it was all valuable. And I'm not knocking any of it, but I'm just explaining I've been on this journey for a long time, and there's highs and there's lows, and there's like what even happened to my activation and my connection with spirit. Like, it doesn't even feel like it's there sometimes. And this is common on this journey, that a lot of times it's a choice if we want to, like, what's called bypass or embrace the spiritual tenets, but to an extreme where it is like escapism. And most of the people in the world are doing this, or they're working themselves to death, or they're taking some kind of substance. And I've had to resort just the last couple of days to like microdosing mushrooms again. And I haven't had to do that since like 2017, where I used to be on antidepressants, and I got off them, got back on them, then got off them in 2012 for good. And then 2017 rolled around, and it was like, I think I need to get on them again. And my coach at the time is like, why don't you just microdose mushrooms for like a month or two? And like a tiny bit, some of what people call microdosing is like big. So that's what I did for a month. And it did help rewire those neurosynaptic pathways, or heal the ones that were, I wouldn't say corrupted, but not really harmonious and causing mental loops. And like I was saying, that pattern of rejecting things that are actually calming and peaceful in our life, and opting for the stimulus and the constant excitement. So I started doing that again. And, I want to share that with people, because there's a lot happening right now. And I feel like I say that all the time, but this is the ascension. This is what we came here for. And a lot of what I wanted to share and what's been coming through lately is the multidimensional reality in which we live in. And we all know this, we've all heard this, quantum physics is supporting this with observable evidence. And what's that really like when you live it day to day? And there's a level of common sense with this too, where, some days you don't feel good. Some days, it could be something we ate. It could be an experience we had, something we watched. Something that's happening in the collective energy here on the planet. It could be the neighbor next door is vibing something, and we're feeling that, especially if we're sensitive and we've activated our gifts through meditation and other practices, or if you've done a lot of plant medicine, that shit is open. So we're feeling all that. And then there's also, as we go on this ascension journey, as we go on this basically awakening and activating and reclaiming the organic human, which happens in numerous ways. You don't have to study ascension mechanics. It can just happen hiking through the mountains one day, and all of a sudden you have it. Or, sitting in prison or something, and it comes to you because you surrender, and you open to the receptivity of whatever the information is that your spirit, your soul's been whispering to you for forever and always will, because it's just this deep inner knowing. And that's why I say to remember is to heal. It's just surrendering to that remembering, and it heals us, and we're still human. And so that's why I'm sharing this video today, is to just kind of normalize what's going on right now in that multidimensional aspects of these other lifetimes, these other parallel realities where we're living out these lives where things are happening in any now moment, and we can feel that. Where on another planet, maybe there's a war, there's some kind of tragedy that befalls that version of us. And in this moment here, I can feel that as I'm sitting in my room doing basically nothing, or watching a movie or whatever, or or just meditating. All of a sudden I'm feeling the sadness, and to try to source that and figure it out would be impossible, or I would make up a story about what it is, it's coming from so and so, or someone sending me negative energy, which that can happen too. But very often, more and more, it is just this realization that maybe there's this other part of me that's struggling. And what we would tend to want to do is like, well, I need to figure that out. I need to like send energy there. And the best way we do that is to actually not try to figure it out, and to feel what's coming up for us, and then choose spirit, choose the breath, choose the presence. And that's not very easy. And that's what I've been working with for a long time. And then today it's like, I'm going to break the pattern of hiding and pretending everything's okay, or only doing a video when everything's great and I can be happy and uplifting and follow the formula that other people are doing. Like, I'm tired of trying to, just act for people, or even fawning, trying to just put on a smile and be pleasant and nice. And it's good to do that. But I'm a dragon, and I don't need to like tone down my expression or who I am, or watch what I say if it's my genuine, heartfelt expression. If it's making fun of people or tearing people down, that's another thing. But very often it's just like, this is my opinion, this is how I feel about something, and I'm sorry it upsets you. I'm just going to take a pause. So I'm feeling that energy come up of what I'm feeling. Like, I just don't care anymore. I want to like burn the whole planet. It's like, I want to just push, or I just want to push everything away, and huddle into like a bunch of movies, or isolate from the world, or even go out in nature and just like immerse myself in that, which often helps. And I do that so much. It's like, now I need to express and talk and share what's happening for me. And maybe it's relevant to someone else out there. Maybe someone's watching this and be like, okay, well, yeah, we're all going through it. And I'm not perfect, and I hope nobody ever thought I was. And I know I compare myself to other people's lives and wonder why I'm not at that level, or why I'm not making this amount of money, or any money sometimes, and realizing that that is the trapping of the ego. Of course, we all know. And but I want to share, like, yeah, it's not about like the perfection, even though it sure feels that way and it sure looks that way in the world. And like, what is going to happen? Is there going to be a big shift, a change? And there's been a lot of subtle ones. There's a lot of change happening now. But what's next? And so here I am doing something I know that helps when I feel like this, is to create, even if it's an Instagram reel, creating this video right now, drawing, writing is huge for me. I love to write. And then I've noticed I've been working with AI, and it's helpful because it checks all the punctuation and grammar. And then I've been leaning on it a little more than I like to, because it's so convenient, but it has its own voice, even when we're working with it. I like what Lisa Royal Holt says, that it's reflective intelligence. So it reflects our intelligence and what we put into it. Or Lisa Royal Holt, I think is what I said, not Lisa Renee, but she's great too. And I learned a lot from her. But it's reflecting what we put in, and it mimics a lot of what we say, but it's still that there's this unique voice, and I can pick it up when I read other people's stuff. It's like, oh, that's AI. And there's a lot of AI videos on YouTube now too, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not knocking it, but I've noticed it has made me a little lazy here and there. So I'm embracing my own writing again, and fine tuning it, and do what I did in the beginning, is put it in and see what it comes up with. But ultimately just staying with my own original writing. So I wanted to share a bit about that, because I know that's a topic that's coming up in the world, and that connects us with these other timelines and these Orion Wars that have been coming through for me, where there was a lot of AI that was used and a lot of inorganic structures that were implanted and utilized to basically harness people's energy, and even at a soul level, where there was this level of control and entrapment that played out in that galaxy. And this is, for those that don't know, this is like a lot of this comes through channeled material. It comes through meditations and things that a lot of us feel as we activate more of our DNA. There's these memories or connections to these other parts of ourself. And quantum physics even shows this with entanglement and all that, where we have connection to all these other aspects in the field. There's how electrons can become entrained and can react despite the distance immediately. So that time and space isn't really even relevant in that situation. So it's not that far of a stretch of imagination, and that there is this other simultaneous life right now where it plays out a lot like the movie Star Wars, where there is this level of control and domination. And then there's those that are struggling and fighting against that, like the rebels. But what I saw happen is it just kept continuing. And even those, they were called the Black League because they had to hide in the shadows. And they were holding the light and they were fighting for what they believed was right. And what I saw was they were making progress, and the beings in control that they were fighting against were actually starting to soften and change a bit and embrace more of the service to others, not just service to self. But because there was still this fighting and the lack of perception or awareness to see that there could be a compromise or a middle ground, at least to get to a certain point, and then a shift. And it's similar to what's happening now on the planet, where you have somebody that is just won, the election not too long ago and making a lot of changes, and a lot of it's good. I'm not saying it's all good, and there could be a lot way more consideration and care in how things are played out, especially with immigration and things. Like there's people that have been here their whole lives, and maybe just because they weren't born here, there needs to be something in place and accommodations for that. I'm not trying to get too political, but that's one example where, if we could all come together and focus on things rather than just picking a side and sticking with it, like a football team or something. And that's what I see is happening a lot in the world, and what I saw played out in Orion that made it last these wars for like thousands of generations. And whether or not you want to believe that, whether it's all just a story and BS, it doesn't matter, but it's an example of how these cycles perpetuate themselves. It's an example like Greek mythology, like the stories of ancient Egypt, how things played out, how beings acted, and how it's really a representation of our own archetypal energy, our own neurosis, if you want to go that far, of what plays out when we're not in our hearts, when we're not coming into unity. And right now, I don't feel like coming into unity or being my heart, but I'm here now, and I'm speaking and sharing that part of me that I thought only I had until I started sitting in groups and circles, and other people would be like, yeah, I have that too. I have that part of me that, hates everyone some days and doesn't want to do anything and just wants to watch the whole world. And I was like, what? Really? And it's so common. And that's that part of us that's often like frustrated and irritated with the way things are. This has been referred to as the dragon, the part that we've suppressed and hidden, not the shadow, but like the part that is this fiery, passionate, like this isn't right. And I don't want to live this way, but everyone is telling me I need to, and this is the way it is. So I'll just suck it up and I'll do it. And that can turn into the shadow. But a lot of it is that freedom and that dragon energy of like, no, I'm going to do what I want. What's the big deal? And I have a friend that really lives that, and it's inspiring because, he has his own views and he has ways he lives in the world that anybody would be like, oh, you're driving without a license. And, he gets pulled over, and he just holds that he got pulled over recently. He was telling me, and he was just holding that space of like, whatever happens, it's fine. Whatever happens, it's fine. Where he could feel the fear coming up, like, oh my God, I'm going to go to jail. And he just came into this presence. And because the night before he had a dream about it, and he worked with the energy of what it was bringing up in the moment. And the cop just let him go. It's like weird. Like he told him, like, sort out your license, and gave him a pass. And I'm not saying that would happen every time, or that was something we should strive for, but it was like holding that space, holding that field of energy while doing what you want. And that was basically what I was talking about with the Black League of hiding in the shadows and fighting. But it got to the point where it became an identity, and I had a lifetime and that I was shown or explained to me, and I could visualize it as that was being told to me by a Akashic, Galactic Akashic Records reader, of working in that capacity, but very much alone and with one other person that was very psychic and powerful, and how what we thought we were doing was good, but we were pushing the limits of using force and manipulation and dark magic, and it actually caused a lot of harm. So that's one of the other things I want to share is like, don't isolate. You know, if you're a healer and you're working to save and help the world, and make sure you're being honest and connecting with people, and reaching out for your support, and then being honest with the people that work with you, that come to you for guidance, that you're not just pretending. And I've always done my best to do that. And then there's a lot of times that I've had to put on a face and put on a show. And when I do the ceremonies, I show up at my best, and it's not even really me. I'm like channeling. And then other times, I'm not in a good space, and I've had to cancel some readings and stuff I've done because I want to be showing up at my best. And even now I can feel, as I'm doing this feels a lot better, to be like fulfilling my purpose of just sharing my voice and what's coming through in this moment. And I didn't mean to share that much, and I don't know, I'm feeling kind of weird about it, but maybe that is helpful for somebody out there. That with Saturn just moved into Aries, according to Western astrology, if you follow that, which I do, I like it. People think Vedic is better, and maybe it is, I don't know, but like, I definitely feel something changing as a 29 degree Capricorn. That's, Capricorn's ruled by Saturn, and Saturn just moving from 29 degrees into Aries. It's really bringing up this, I need to change how I do things and really be more authentic in my expression. And I feel like I've been doing that, but today I would have definitely hidden and not done this. And I'm working on an Oracle deck I created where I've been fine tuning it and using it myself. And one of the actions that were suggested with what I was going through yesterday is to do something that scares you, that basically you've always wanted to do, which is this. I've been meaning to do like a weekly YouTube video, and eventually maybe take it live and just pull tarot cards and see what's up for the week, or just what's up in general, and just share my process and what I'm going through, so that people may draw inspiration from it, or it'll just at least normalize their experience that no matter who we are or how advanced we seem or how psychic we are or whatever, or if you're a galactic shaman, you're still a human and going through this journey, and maybe something I say here will be helpful. And I'm going to pull some cards too to see what the cards have to say about all this, because it's such a valuable tool. Like, I'm going to do some tarot first, and then I have all these oracle decks. I grabbed a bunch of them out to just see what comes through there, because there's been plenty of times, and that's why I'm creating an oracle deck myself, is where I was just fucking struggling, and I didn't want to reach out to anybody, and I didn't want to, I'd already watched the movie that wasn't helping. I'd gone walked in nature, and I was like, I need something just to let me know it's okay. And I use these various oracle decks, and it's been so valuable to just get like, oh, okay, I'm not crazy, and to get that inspiration or that confirmation. And sometimes even that doesn't work, but it's been valuable to me. So I'm going to do that today. I pulled some cards for what's happening this week. Not to predict the future, but more like, what's the energy right now? I don't like to divinate. I work and read as a healer, and that's just basically revealing what's happening in this moment, and what wisdom we already hold and know deep inside, rather than trying to figure out and control things or predict what's going to happen, because yeah. So I'm going to pull 3 cards, see what comes through. Interesting. Wow, yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling. It's like the King of Pentacles reversed. So it's interesting. And I had this relationship with this person, and when it ended, I would pull cards about what was going on for me, not so much tuning into them, but it would come through sometimes. And the guy she went with always showed up as like the King of Pentacles, but upright. And I showed as like the King of Swords. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Well, yeah, there's resources and things. And I just remember like comparing myself to that, like, oh, I wasn't good enough. And this is what is desired in the world, or by someone I loved at the time. And now I've seen clearly why that wasn't going to work. But with this reversed, it reminds me of what, like how I live in Hawaii, and I have like a family that loves me. I have amazing friends. I have a great partner that's like super loving and supportive. And still I can feel like it's not enough, or I'm lacking in some way. Like, and this is where you have these core negative wounds, or these negative beliefs, core negative beliefs. And one of them is like, I'm not good enough. And so that's what the King of Pentacles reverse represents to me, is like, I'm not good enough. And I was even shown lifetimes where I didn't see how truly blessed I was, or how beautiful I was, or how loved I was until I died. And it's kind of like this, is like, do you see like the abundance and the prosperity and the amazingness that's all around you? Because if you don't, then this is what's going to happen. It's like we kind of not so much push it away, but it's like it's the thief of joy, right? The comparison, like I talked about, and also the feelings of lack and not good enough. And so, as always, it's like the gratitude is, what is it you're grateful for now, right? Like right now in this moment, what are you grateful for? And me, it's like, oh, I'm in a clean, safe house. You know, I got this little studio I live in, and I live in Puna, Hawaii. And so sometimes it's really jungly and like moldy or loud. And it's quiet, it's clean. It's like, it used to be an Airbnb. So it's like everything's really nice. And so, you know, I am embodying this. And then there's things I could look at why I'm not, you know, upright, and flip myself upside down, right? So basically, I see this as having more gratitude, and that's no big surprise, but that's what that represents, at least what I'm feeling. And then the Nine of Pentacles reversed, which is so interesting. It's such a similar card. And I always see this card as like, I have everything except what I really, you know, except this relationship. Like, I've got everything, but I'm kind of lonely, and I would like to have someone to share and spend time with. And with this reversed, it's like this, like isolating, exactly what I was talking about today, is what I'm feeling, is when we surround ourselves with things that can comfort us and make us feel better, whether that's movies, or even immersing in nature, but not actually connecting with people, not actually going out and reaching out to just hang out and talk to someone, not so much dump on them about what's wrong and what's going on for you. I mean, we'll always do that a little bit, but to like be like, oh, I just want to attune, and like tuning forks. Like when we call someone that we love and that cares about us, or someone we know that is you know, really good at like holding space, or being a presence of I want to say positivity, but like balance, where as the two tuning forks come together, there's like the higher frequency will lift the other one up, and the other one doesn't necessarily drag the other one down. It'll shoot it away. So it's like being receptive enough and not dumping as we go to that person, because they got their own stuff too, but they're good at like managing it, or they're just at that moment, you know, a little bit more chill or stable, but they'll drop too sometimes. And then that's the role we play for them. And that's the beauty of relationship in any form, and especially romantic relationships. And that's what I saw when I was working with couples in a clinic, where it was really helping them understand that at any moment, like one person will be more insecure than the other, and old patterns from the past will play out with their childhoods, and the negative beliefs that come in that seem so real. And for this person to really just hold their space and allow that other one to come back, rather than coming down to their level and doing the same thing. And this is why sometimes empathy isn't that great, because when we come down and get in that place and really feel and be with the person where they're at, it's hard to come out. I've always thought of it as when someone's drowning off the side of a ship, you jump in to save them rather than throwing a life preserver first. And maybe sometimes you need to if it's really bad, but when it comes to the emotions, oftentimes you can just throw a life preserver and allow them to come to you, because we are naturally buoyant. We have an innate health that'll always come back to spirit, back to love and peace and harmony, if we can let go of the thoughts that are keeping us down here, that are perpetuating the emotion. And somebody told me recently that my partner, in fact, that if emotion only lasts a minute and a half, and I don't know where she got it from, but I thought it was something to grab onto in the moment. It's like, okay, yeah, if I can just ride out this minute and a half and just breathe and allow it to be. And that's something I've been working with anyway. But in that moment, I needed to hear it from someone else. And I did come out of it a little bit, but I was still in there because, there's a tendency that when I was younger, I didn't enjoy my childhood. And so I went into my head, or I went out of my body, just to try to manage and deal with what was happening. And there's people that had way worse childhoods, but I didn't feel safe a lot of times, whether it was in my home or at school or out in public in general. And that's one of the ways I managed it. And even ADHD, more and more, it's being shown that it's really like a trauma response, and it creates a neurodiverse person. And I believe there is so much benefit from ADHD, where it is like a spiral mind, and we're seeing and feeling everything all at once, and then you can focus it if we're interested. And so that's something that's coming to light more and more, is that I may have that myself from the trauma experience, and I've been able to manage it most of my life with just meditation and structure and writing down lists. But I never really embraced that as the main problem. I assumed it was depression and anxiety, which can be like a comorbid with that kind of diagnosis. And I don't like the diagnosis thing, but it would explain why the need for the mushrooms periodically to help rewire those synaptic pathways that have been ingrained since childhood, to come back to the basically the gratitude, have gratitude, to continue to work out, to do things that scare me rather than just hide and isolate. And that's what this final card represents, is the star reversed is when we shut down our creative expression because for whatever reason, one of the ones I just explained, even with, the ADHD thing, I'm going to go get tested just to see if I have that or not, or if I just need to continue to do my own process with it. And I don't know if I'll take medication or what, but we'll see. And I'll fill you guys in on that if anybody cares. But the star is that divine connection. And in those moments, like what I felt today, is I feel like I'm not connected. I'm not getting the downloads. I'm not feeling that same level of upliftment and even light inside. And I know that's not true because it's always there, and I've gone through this enough times. And often when there is a lot of this seemingly darkness and stuff coming down on us, is just before the explosion where we rise up out of it. And so how I would read that is, do like what I'm doing and create something, do something that excites you, that you've been scared to do, and use the energy of, I just don't care anymore, rather than I don't care anymore and I want to end it all or destroy something or be really rude and mean to someone that I think is irritating. I'm going to use that energy of I don't care anymore and call on my dragon and just be like, this is the thing I'm going to do. Right now I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to say whatever I want. I don't care. But from the heart too, not about trying to hurt or slay anything. So, and the star, I also want to touch on with the water, and the emotions aren't a bad thing. And this is to get back to the multidimensional reality aspect, is the emotions are what's coming. And maybe there'll be earth changes of tidal waves and flooding. And I've seen this in dreams. I had a dream where there was a bunch of us in a house, and there was this giant like wave of water coming, just huge. And I'm trying to get everyone's attention. I'm like, hey, look. And nobody was paying attention. And finally I said something, and they all looked, and people all huddled and ran in this one room. And I was like, and I go in the room, I was like, that's my room where I was going to ride out this craziness or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go out and face it. And to me, I feel like it's a symbolism or symbolic of the emotions that are coming, this wave of emotions, and what it's time to feel. And this has to do with the feminine rising as well, as like, what is it I'm feeling? What is it I'm guided to do? What have I silenced in myself for so long that I'm scared, or I believe that this is the way the world is, or there's something wrong with me, or even I need medication is a good example. But to let ourselves feel it, and as we feel it and be with it, and then continue to live our lives and follow the subtle guidance like I did today, then there's the opportunity to change and transform not only this life, but those other lives as well. And a lot of that is good to have help with. So reach out to people you trust, you love, that know how to hold space and not like feed into the drama or dive into it with you, because that's not going to help anything. So hopefully this was helpful. Let me tune in to see if there's anything else that wants to be shared as I tune into what's happening currently. Make sure I didn't miss anything. I tend to go in circles. Oh, I was going to do an oracle card. That's right. Let me see what oracle card comes through. Interesting. I want to grab this one. The Oracle Delphi. Used this a couple times. That's the one that lit up when I closed my eyes and kind of felt it with my hand too. You know, there was like a light on one of them, and there's also like a drawing with my hand. So I use a lot of different little techniques to try to help me make decisions a lot of times, because a lot of it's arbitrary, a lot of things like even what I wear. And so there's things we can do like psychically tuning in, or even muscle testing. And I do a form of muscle testing where I just stand straight and I have my hands close to me. And then I ask the question. And then if I lean forward or back, then I get my yes or no. And I do that a lot with food and other things. And again, it's very subtle and the mind can get in the way, but I find it's helpful. But if you have someone else that can help you muscle test, that's ideal. Let's see which Oracle Delphi card comes through. That'd be helpful. And I'll be doing this again next Monday for the New Earth Guided Meditation and Energy Update. And if you're not subscribed to my email list on my website, you won't get the link. But if you are, keep an eye out for that on your email list or in your email inbox. So I got medium. What's this say? Wow, I can't see it. Let me grab glasses. To be totally real and raw. Yeah, since I'm 50 now, actually the last couple of years, I realized I needed glasses and I really resisted it, but now I got them. So 6 medium, culminate, consult, connect, convey. And it's really beautiful with the wolves. Let's see if I can get that to come. Let me just tune into what that represents. It reminds me of a beautiful, loving soul I know, and how difficult their life was when they shared what their childhood was like. And this is how I always saw them. Not everyone saw this in them, but they're a beautiful being. And some of us have had to have experiences for whatever reason. Maybe it was things we did in other lifetimes. Maybe it was the path we chose. But always this remains, this beauty, this innocence, this purity that every soul is. And we have these lifetimes where it can be challenging and frustrating. Sometimes we lose our way. Sometimes we play our role perfectly. And I think this is a good reminder of what's happening in the world right now is a lot of the players and a lot of things that are happening, they're playing their role perfectly. And then it's up to us how we navigate, how we choose to show up in relation to it. Do we want to destroy? Do we want to ridicule? I see a lot of stuff on the internet making fun of Trump. And it's kind of sad, you know, because I see him doing some good stuff, and I'm not like pro-Trump, but I like a lot of what he's addressing and giving voice to that hasn't been addressed. And just like the other administrations did the same thing for how we treat people and wanting to help people that have been marginalized and hurt. And I think these are all good conversations, but if we're always fighting and perpetuating mind control and things that happened 20 years ago or whatever the person did, it's not going to work. It's about us making it through this and not perpetuating war for thousands of generations like happened on Orion. And that's not going to happen here. But there's a tremendous opportunity right now to embrace what is changing that is beneficial and to like focusly call out the specific things that aren't, rather than just these perpetuated stories of things that aren't really even relevant to what's happening, although it may feel that way. How can we like really connect on like the environment is a good example, or the immigration and where people are could be they're totally a benefit to be here. And I don't know how that's done or what, and I'm not trying to be too political, but as just common sense. And I feel the need to say that, like, can we just check ourselves and be like, well, wait a minute, can I put my hate aside long enough to see how we can come together and address these things with consideration rather than anger and animosity and intensity? Because anytime you come at somebody like that, I've learned that so many times in my life, whenever I come at someone really intense or thinking I'm right and thinking they're horrible, they're not receptive. If I like call somebody a name before I try to present my point of view, they're not going to hear shit. And we all know this, but I think it's important to say. So take that with whatever, and we're all doing our best. And you know, one of the best things I've learned is if I'm angry and upset, there's something I don't understand. And of course, it's okay to be upset. And like, how do we take action with that? So love you all. Hope you have an amazing week, and I will catch you next time. Aloha.